and I need to switch the camera around. So one thing that I have found with my tablet, y'all give me a little, give me a yes if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me good. And you should be seeing a tabletop in your feed right now, right? So, like that's my hand. So let me tell you one thing that I found out about filming with this tablet today. If I'm filming a video, then I can zoom in to really, really great detail. But if I'm filming a Teams meeting, I am not able to zoom in as far. I'm kind of stuck with what they give me. So what I did was, we're going to be testing 6 samples today. And what I did was I went ahead and recorded close-ups of those 6, and I posted them in the lab module 1. So it's a little 1-minute video of our 6 samples, just in case you want to see them slightly more close up than the ones we're going to be doing here. So what I'm going to do is I want you to write these down at home for each sample. And at the end of this lab, after we test them all, I'm going to go over what I have for my answers. And we're going to compare them to yours. Now, next week when we do a lab, I'm going to do the same thing, except you're going to then use that data to use the flow charts in your lab book to try to determine the names. But today we're not determining the names. We're just doing sort of a test shakedown. This is the first one of my 3 teams classes that is actually doing a lab. So we're going to start here with sample number 1, and it's sitting right there. And the little video that I have posted, you can put that up on repeat with the sound off, and it can show you what sample 1 looks like a little bit closer. But the first thing that I want you to write down for sample 1 is its luster. I want you to write down, so say sample 1 and then write luster, metallic or non-metallic. Second thing, I want you to write down the color of sample 1. Describe the color that you see there. I might be able to get a little closer than that if I had something else to set this tablet on, except I'm using a shoebox with rocks in it. So I can't cut the shoebox down any further right now. The third test we're going to run on this is the streak. So here's my streak plate. And there's the streak that was left. So it did leave a streak, and I want you to describe the color of that streak. Hey, that's not so bad. I think you can still see that pretty good. It's the one that I just made right there. Okay, and the final test that we're going to run today is going to be hardness. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can cut this with my fingernail. And I am not able to leave a rut in this with my fingernail. So I'm going to look at this pretty tarnished penny there, and I'm going to see if I can make a new rut in here on the penny. It looks to me like right about there are 2 brand new ruts. So it cut the penny. We're going to test the glass here. I'm getting nothing from the glass. So to review, I cut the penny, did not cut the glass. I want you to write down one of those 3 hardness ranges. Okay, sample 1, you should have written down a luster value, a color, a streak, and a hardness. So here's what sample 2 looks like. Like, is that a mineral? Oh, you bet, that's a mineral. This is actually a fairly common mineral. So what are we going to do first on this? Luster. I want you to write down sample 2 and ask, is this metallic or non-metallic? Second property we're testing is color. So describe the color of this sample. So let me stop right now here and give you a little bit of a tip. Describe these colors and other properties the way that will help you to identify the mineral the best. So we're not going to identify any till next week, but remember that our ultimate goal is to be able to identify a mineral based on its physical properties. So write down whatever you need to. Ultimately, we're going to be writing down stuff a little bit more than just those regular physical properties. If we see something else that's notable about that mineral, we should write that down also. We should write that down that's notable. Maybe some sort of observation you have that does not fit into one of our properties. You should write that down as well. Okay, what's our next test? Streak. So on the streak plate here, do that. See if we can see that up close. I want you to describe the color of that streak right there. Maybe it will help if I use another streak plate. So that is the streak right. Oh, come on, finger. Get a clue. That's the streak right there. Luster, streak, color, and hardness. So the glass is right there. I'm going to go ahead and try the glass. And I'm just leaving a bunch of this stuff on the glass. It's definitely not cutting that. Let's go ahead and try the finger now. So it should be very obvious that I cut a rut in there with my fingernail. And the penny. So it did not cut the glass, the penny cut it, and the fingernail cut it. So write down the hardness range, one of those 3 ranges. If you recall, those ranges are less than 2.5, 3 to 5, or greater than 5. I'm sorry, greater than 5.5. Here is sample number 3. You see how that one face is very reflective? That is an evidence of another physical property that we're going to talk about in a week or two. I think in a couple of weeks we're going to talk about that physical property, but for now we're just running the 4. So luster for number 3, luster, metallic or non-metallic? Color for number 3. That one's not so easy. It's not just, it's not one of our Roy G. Biv colors necessarily. So you may have to get a little inventive or a little descriptive, but remember, you're making this for you to identify and not for me. Streak. There is no streak. This mineral did not powder itself onto the streak plate. Testing. I don't know if y'all heard that, but I certainly heard it. And let's lift this up here, and you probably see a brand new rut that is slicing across the top part of the number 3. A rut that wasn't there before. Goes like right down that way. So that cut the glass. If it cut the glass, do I really need to run any more tests on it? I don't, but just in case, we'll do the fingernail, but my fingernail is not doing a thing to it, and it is tearing my thumbnail up. I'm getting thumbnail shavings down onto the glass plate. Sample number 4. Here is sample number 4, a little bit of a close-up here. So you see when we get to a certain point, oh, nice, it did focus for me there. So luster, metallic or non-metallic? Sample number 4, color. Describe the color of this sample. Streak. Definitely left a streak. So describe the color of that streak. And hardness. I'm not cutting it with my fingernail. Let's check the penny. Oh man, a brand new shiny rut in the penny. As you can see, I'm catching it with the light right there. Let's try the glass. Sounded like it. It looks like now instead of one line, we now have an X. So we did have that from sample number 3, and now we have that from number 4. Clearly a rut carved into that. So give me the hardness range for sample 4. Here's sample 5. Can we get close up with it? Sample 5, luster, metallic or non-metallic? Sample 5, color. Sample 5, streak. I want you to note another property of sample 5. You may have already picked up on it, but when we look at the card it's been sitting on, it's kind of got marks on it. So that's one of those that you would put in extra properties. The fact that it leaves a mark on paper. You don't need a streak plate for it. All you need is a piece of paper. Hardness for sample 5. Not hearing anything, not feeling anything, and I'm still seeing that original X from samples 3 and 4. So let's try fingernail on this. And you can see pieces flaked off. You can see a couple ruts there. I'm going to cut one across so you can see it very well. And so now I have a rut across and another rut there. So I'm clearly cutting it with my fingernail. What is the hardness range for 5? And finally, here is number 6. So the luster is going to be either metallic or non-metallic. The color. So I will tell you, it's obviously one of the shades of the rainbow, but it's also kind of a distinctive shade of that. And you can also see my yeah. Oh, so I'm getting it out of focus a little bit. So one thing I like about this tablet as opposed to Teams on the PC is your chats pop up in front of me and they do not on the PC. So I see your chat comments immediately. So as far as special properties, you might mention that you can somewhat see through it and that it's kind of a distinct shade. So does it leave a streak? So it looks like that's the streak right there at my thumb. Hardness. Not cutting a rut in it. Let's check the penny. Looks like a new shiny rut in that penny. That's not powder. That is a shiny rut in there. And finally, let's check the glass. This rut was from a previous test that I made. So you remember, I'm going at an angle to it, and I do not see that I'm cutting the glass. It looks like I did catch something right there briefly. So let me just say that sometimes there are more than one mineral on here, and I think there's something else on here that I caught, because most of the time I am not cutting the glass with this. So you should now have 4 physical properties for each of our 6 minerals. So I'm not going to answer that yet. I can tell you that I will tell you that some of the things that you guessed were correct, but it's I'm wanting for you to actually use the key next week to identify these things. So let's talk a little bit about these. Use the chat and tell me, for sample 1, what did you get for the luster of sample 1? And you could just write an N or an M. M for metallic and N for non. So let me see a bunch of people's chat answers. So not surprisingly, I'm getting both. I'm getting the majority being metallic, but I am getting some non-metallic answers. So interestingly enough, this particular mineral, in some lab books, they have it under the metallic minerals, and in some lab books, they have it under the non-metallic. So literally, this one is one that geologists can't even agree on. So whether you put non or M, both are correct. How would you describe the color of this? I mean, I don't know about anything other than a dark brown. But what's a lot more helpful to us than the color? Yeah, so I'm seeing dark brownish on that. So what did we say was the streak for that? The streak is actually a lot more distinctive. It's this one on the right side of that plate. And I would say that that's kind of maybe a light yellow. Okay, tan beige. I like that. Maybe a yellowish brown, anything like that. But that's pretty distinctive for that. Light brown yellow, green brown. So that's distinctive for that. Another thing about this one, and I can't really demo this right now, but this one is distinctive for having a streak that right after you streak it, it smells sulfury. What hardness range do you have for number 1? 3 to 5, 3 to 5, 3 to 5, and that's exactly right. This particular thing has a hardness of 4. So what you got was that it did not cut the penny. I mean, sorry, it did cut the penny, but didn't cut the glass. Okay. Sample 2 hopefully was very obviously non-metallic. If you called sample 2 metallic, then we might have to have a private conference to go over luster again, because this is probably the epitome of non-metallic. And the color is white. It should be white, or you might have said off-white, egg white. Oh, I like that. Ivory white, something like that. But yes, you might notice that it's actually leaving some powder on my fingers. That would be something you would write down for diagnostic other properties there. The streak on that was white. I think it was this one on the upper right corner by my thumb. So it was extremely white streak. And remember that I carved that with my thumbnail. So what do we got? That you should have less than 2.5 for number 2. Yep. Sample number 2 was also non-metallic. However, it was shinier. So this is a good example of something that is shiny but still doesn't look like a metal tool or musical instrument or aluminum or anything like that. It does reflect light really well, but it is non-metallic. Color, you might have said orange, you might have said salmon, you might have said pink. It's a pretty hard one to describe. Caramel brown, but this one usually has a distinctive color. Amber, dark brown, orange, terracotta. Those are all kind of in the neighborhood. You know, it's not something that was just burnt orange. That's good. This did not leave a streak. So tell me what you had for the hardness. Yep, more than 5, or literally more than 5.5, more than 5.5. Okay, so we got that. Number 4, luster. It's my hope that everyone has an M written down for that. I'm seeing M's come in now. So yes, metallic luster. What did you describe as the color for that? Gold, tinfoil, bronze, gold brown. I would call this, the only one that I'd really kind of disagree with a little bit would be the tinfoil, because I think of tinfoil as being silvery, and this is brassy. This is brassy. I'm not going to tell you yes or no on what it is yet, but so the fact that some of you can't tell if it's gold or silver, that's kind of a problem for us. So if you ever are not clear on the color, then yes, then asking me would be helpful. I don't know. This is another version of the same thing, and I don't know if you can tell that that's more of a closer to gold than silver. The streak was, I don't know, it was kind of dark gray to dark brown. I'm not brown, but dark gray to black. It was right here, I believe. So I think if you said dark gray to black or something like that, you're probably looking good there. And the hardness was greater than 5.5. This cut glass. Five is one that I'd be disappointed if anyone missed that when test time comes, because it's one of the easier ones, but it's metallic. It does have a metallic luster, and its color was, did you say gray or silvery? Anything having to do with silvery or gray. Again, if you were having problems with your computer monitor, I don't know, maybe it came through as gold for you, but for me, this is definitely gray in person on my tablet. Shiny black, that's probably acceptable. To me, it's more of a gray. What color was the streak, though? I don't think the streak was black. The streak looks black in that light, but when we catch reflection, I think it's a gray, definitely metallic gray streak. And the hardness, this stuff falls apart. Dark silver, yep. So this was less than 2.5. And then finally, we have number 6. So give me some M's or N's here for this one. Okay, I'm seeing unanimous N's. We all agree that that's non-metallic. Also, the fact that you can see through it is kind of an indicator that it's non-metallic. And the color, I mean, it's definitely green, but just what shade of green you would call that? Aqua green? Oh, I like that. Greenish clear. This mineral is known for sea foam. Y'all are good on the colors. Very inventive, or I should say, observant. This particular mineral is known for having a lot of different colors. This is one of them that can have any color, and often is really, really deep, pretty colors. The streak, I believe, was white on that. Looked like maybe some impurities were giving me a little bit of gray when we did that one, but it was also, when I did it on here, I got mostly a white streak. Yes, I got white on that. And hardness, if I recall, that cut the penny. It was this last rut across the Lincoln Memorial, and it was not able to cut glass. So for this one, you should have 3 to 5. Yeah, between 3 and 5. So now that we've introduced ourselves to these properties, we're going to skip the introduction part next Thursday, and we're going to have 16 samples, and we're going to run through the tests on that. So I'm going to generate the data for that, just like you would if you were sitting here in the class. We're going to generate the important data on those 16 samples, and then you're going to use the flow chart in your lab book to identify them. And I can tell you that the ones we're going to do next week, some of these we did today we're going to do, some of these we're not, because there's a big distinction between next week's minerals and the following weeks, and that is that next week's do not have cleavage and the following weeks do. And some of the ones you looked at today have cleavage and some do not. So that is how we're going to be conducting most of our rock and mineral labs. And that's just and so it looked like this worked out. So what do I mean by cleavage? It is something that I will lecture on later on, but let me tell you that I can go ahead and give you a hint. Cleavage is a way that the mineral splits or breaks in a really regular fashion so that it has smooth, flat, reflective faces. rather than just looking random like a rock. And it's a really helpful property for distinguishing certain minerals. So I think this went as good. Actually, I think this went better than I had hoped as far as using the camera on my tablet. I'm pretty happy about that. So this is how we'll be doing on most of our rock and mineral labs. We'll probably do something a little different second half of the semester when we do maps. But for now, where you wrote these things down, you can just hold on to that. You do not need to turn that into me because that is for is not for a grade. What we're going to do next week is identify these things, and you'll hold on to that paper as well. You'll want to identify them and then write down the important things for each one. Yes, if asked, I will be clear on what color you are looking at. You might have to remind me a few times. The video and slides are unavailable. And so what exactly does that mean? That they're unavailable. I posted them, so you're able to get into that page, but it says that the videos are unavailable. That's a problem that I'm going to have to look into. So, okay, so the problem with the slideshow, okay, the video is private. I swore that I put public on there, but I'll look into and fix both of those things. The slideshow should not be processing because that was done a while ago. I suspect that what we're having is a Canvas issue, but certainly I'll keep looking into those and eventually get it fixed on there. So that's all I have for today. I believe next week we're gonna do chapter 1. So we're not going to have a long day on Tuesday because the Monday, Wednesday classes are going to miss the following Monday. And so we don't want to get too far ahead of them. If I get too far ahead of them, things don't work out very well. So we're going to be going a little slower at the first. So y'all compare Monday, Wednesday class, and that you're going to be we're going to be going at a slower pace at first. Here's what the tray of minerals looks like. Oh, no, I switched it around to myself. So there's what the tray of minerals looks like. Here's what our classroom looks like. Got some nice windows in here. There's our sanitation station. And there I am again. I'm going to stop recording this and I'll leave it up for a bit for those of you that have questions. Yes. So the one thing about this chat is that it only tells me your last name. So Spiva, yes. The quizzes are most certainly open book. So definitely use whatever you need to, but the book and the slideshow and your notes are probably the ones that'll get you the answer the quickest on that, as opposed to Google. Yes, they are open book. So I'm going to end the recording. I'm going to leave I'm going to stay logged into the Teams meeting for a bit, but I am going to end the recording so that I can get those recordings up there. So there should be 3 videos posted today, 2 in the lab and 1 in the lecture part, but that takes a long time for them to process. So those won't be up just yet. Okay, now I just have to figure out how to stop recording on the tablet. Where's my dots? Need my dots. There they are.